Hi friends, welcome back to my channel Hematology Basics. The topic for today's video is factors affecting the quality of blood smears. Peripheral blood smear is a basic but a highly informative hematological tool, and the diagnostic relevance of a peripheral blood smear is enormous. And this relevance has not been lessened by advances in hematology, automation, and molecular techniques. So why is the quality of peripheral blood smear so important? Because it has a very important place in the morphological screening, in diagnosis, and in monitoring of disease progression, and in assessing the response to treatment of various primary and secondary blood and blood related diseases. Blood smears are used to determine leukocyte differentials, to evaluate erythrocyte, platelet, and leukocyte morphology, and if necessary, to estimate platelet and leukocyte counts as well. So, what are the desirable qualities of a blood smear? The desirable qualities are that we need to have a sufficient reading area, we need to have acceptable morphology within that reading area, and there should be an even distribution of leukocytes. So, here you can see a blood smear. There's gradual decrease in thickness of blood from thick head end towards the body and thinning out further, and finally terminating in a tail. There are no grainy streaks, tuft, bridges, and waves or holes. You can also see the zone of morphology which is adjacent to the tail. Here we can see cells properly because the cells are just in a monolayer here. So what are the characteristics of a good smear? Smear should cover middle two-thirds of the slide, should be 25 millimeter long, should stop 10 meter from the end of the slide. Should be tongue shaped, broad at the starting point, tapered towards the end with an oval feathered end. It should be translucent and smooth and uniform with no gaps, ridges, or granular areas. It should be of optimal thickness, neither very thick nor too thin. It should occupy the central portion of the slide and should have definite 2 millimeter clear margins on all sides to enable the examination under oil immersion. Here you can see a well-made blood smear. It consists of the feathered edge, the monolayer, and the body and the base of the smear. The thin section of the smear occupies approximately one-third of the total area, and within that area, erythrocytes are distributed in a monolayer, and that is known as zone of morphology. So, what should be the ideal thickness of the smear? The ideal thickness is such that on microscopy there is some overlap of red cells throughout much of the film's length. The leukocytes should be easily recognizable throughout most of the film. With poorly made films, the leukocytes will be unevenly distributed, with monocytes and other large leukocytes being pushed to the end and the sides of the spread. An irregular streaky film will occur if the slide is greasy, and if there is dust on the surface, it will cause patchy. All parts of the smears are examined, however, the monolayer is the area where the cells are examined in close detail. So, how can thickness of the film be regulated? The thickness of the film can be regulated by varying the pressure and speed of spreading and by changing the angle at which the spreader is held. Quality of the film produced depends on a proper smearing technique and quality of the staining process. So, we'll discuss smearing technique here and quality in the next video. Coming to the smearing technique, smear artifacts may be caused by dirty slides, fat droplets, or poor quality slides. As a rule, the faster and greater angle of preparing the smear, the thicker it is. The thickness of the spread is influenced not only by the angle of spreader slide, but also the size of drop of blood and the speed of spreading. This may be adapted for anemic samples and polycythemic samples. So now why should we need to dry the smear properly? Because it commonly accounts for the artifact where we see sharp refractile border demarcating the area of central pallor. Thus hypochromia is very difficult to assess. Now careful labeling of the slide is very important. In coming back to anemia, the correct thickness in anemia is achieved by increasing the angle, whereas in polycythemia the angle should be narrow to get a thinner smear. So you can see the polycythemic thick smear, anemic thin smear, and a normal smear here. So what is the need of fixing the smear? Why do we need to fix the smears? Because we need to preserve the morphology of the cells. Film must be fixed. Dried smears fixed with absolute methanol or ethyl alcohol and then stained. So here you see some poorly made smears. You see here how my new technician is learning to make the smears. Well, he has made a good smear also, while others, I am sorry, they need to be discarded. better to discard the smear rather than try to improve it further. So here the example of a thin smear. Here is a thick smear where angle is more than 45 degree. Drop of blood was also big. And this is too long thick smear, angle less than 30 degree. Drop of blood too big. This is irregular smear, improper direction, failure to keep the edge of the spreader against the slide. And this is a smear with ridges and long tail. Hesitant movement of spreader has been done. And this is too long, angle less than 30 degrees, drop of blood too big. The smear with gaps, greasy slide. This is too short thick smear, angle more than 45 degree, drop of blood too small. Please remember, poor quality slide should be discarded. As I said, it's safer to produce a new slide. I'm sure this will help your technician to get trained in the art of slide preparation. Thank you.